Let's see here. What do we have on YouTube? That's interesting. Spires. Spires 25. Would we like to see commentary on Spires 25? We could do that. By the way, if you guys have any questions about the run or decision making or anything, just feel free to post questions. I'm just gonna start and let's comment on it. So let's see here. So here we go. We start the key. It's obviously a big pull at the start. If you don't know, you can pre-pot prolonged power for like a little bit of min-maxing if you want to. So the thing about this first pull is that nothing is grouped to start up with. So I'm just gonna like agony shit to start, and then I'm gonna cast my Dark Soul early. So you see, I already, so right now it's grouped, and I already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 agonies up. I've casted my Seed and my Dark Soul is rolling. I put like a few Siphon Lives up. I tried to put Siphon Lives up on whatever targets I need to. Like I want to have basically there are 3 important mobs. It's the 2 Castigators and the Big Goliath. So on a really high key, I try to put Siphon Lives on the 2 targets that I really want to kill, plus the Goliath here. So that's what I have damage rolling on right now. And you see, I haven't done any, like the mage is already sitting on 50k DPS. I haven't done anything, but now the damage is going to come in. So it's not going to be like mage damage, but you definitely do a significant amount. And it's all on the right targets as well. Like, if you check Goliath damage after his pull, it's like insane. Standard 3 target pull. I don't really care too much about what's happening right now. Like, I am planning already for this window right here. So I want to try to have like all my dots rolling for this Rapture window. So what I should do here is I should keep my Shadow's Embrace. I should refresh my Agonies. So that's triple Agony. I refresh Haunt because I got to do that. I need to Seed. Unstable, and then I press my like 1 Siphon Life, Soul Rot, and then I go. And I let some Siphon Lives drop here. Maybe I could have gone for a Siphon Life refresh before, but that isn't like a huge concern. And I should have probably also put up my Phantom Singularity on one of the other targets that were living a little bit longer, because I think I lost some ticks for that. But in situations like this, like 3 targets sustained without cooldowns, when the mage does not combustion, like you're like doing so much more. So you can see actually right now I'm topping overall at this point. After 2 pulls, I'm top overall. Which is kind of cool. So right here, something that is very important when going through something that's very, very important when going through these keys is that every time you want to, I try to teach this in my coaching sessions as well, is that every time you press a cooldown, you want to know when the next cooldown is going to come up. So right here, I'm thinking, okay, I'm pressing 2 minutes here, then I'm going to press 1 minute on Pride, and then I'm going to save my, but when I press my 1 minute, in 1 minute from now, then I'll have my Dark Lair, but I'm not going to press my Dark Lair because I'm going to use that with Pride buff together with my 2 minutes and my 1 minute, 2 minutes from now, right? So you see me go in here, standard 4 target setup. I seed 1 target, I agony everything else. I agony the seed target last. I press my Dark Soul, or I should press my Dark Soul. There we go. I siphon everything. I press Haunt, Unstable, PS, Soul Rot, and then I go in here. So now it's just like Rapture Dump a lot. Seed to refresh Corruption, and then you're just rolling dots at this point. Why did we kill the caster so fast? That's stupid. When you play the Siphon Life build, which dots do you keep up? Agony and Corruption. Siphon Life is just a bonus for bigger MR. I mean, you want to fit as many Siphon Lives as possible in, right? But they are the lowest priority. Oh yeah. Yo, Eltharion, what is that hammer, dude? That's a very sad seed of corruption right there. So I got a reseed because someone was trolling me. Hey, Ruben. So we kill off these 2 mobs barely, not a little bit of Pepega Vortex. But I think it was called. I kicked that one. We killed Goliath, and then we move on. So this pull was quite a bit slower than it should be. But the point that... So I almost have my 2 minutes ready on this Pride. This shouldn't happen. Like, even on hierarchies, this pull should be like about maybe a minute 10, a minute 20. Now it's like a minute 40 right now, which is really bad. A minute 46. So we get Pride here, like normal. I put up all my dots here. Okay, this is actually an adaptation. If you see here, right now, I have to full dot the Pride, and then I want to go into like a PS Soul Rot window. But if you see here, I am on full shards right now, which means that I use a seed on this target before the Pride spawns in order to not shard cap myself. I get the seed detonation and I get corruption on both targets at the cost of no globals, basically. So now I'm back on full shards. I cast my Soul Rots and I go in. I don't stack the Shadow's Embrace here because this Pride, I really want to have my if the Pride damage is extremely important, then you really want to stack to 3 before you dump. But right here, I'm pretty confident that we are going to be able to kill the Pride with the cooldowns we have assigned to it, plus the extra weapons and stuff. So I end up just going kind of early in order to get my Soul Rot back earlier, because I want to be able to Soul Rot and PS and dump all my cooldowns while the boss is still on the ground, to get the cleave value. So you see here, it's 20 seconds left. If I went for the longer setup, I would have had like 20 seconds now, and the boss would be gone up in the air, and I wouldn't get the Soul Rod cleave up. So I should be able to get the Soul Rod cleave going here. It's Pride buff. I should cast a Rapture here. If I don't, I'm a monkey. Yeah, get 1 Rapture. I cast it. There we go. I get the full extension. I think I also get 3 stacks of Shadow's Embrace on the off target, which is good. And now we're just rolling. This wasn't like super clean. I could have done this setup a little bit better. I also dropped my Agony on the main boss. Or this is I choose to keep the bird as my main target because it's always on the ground and I'm playing Foul Hunter. So I don't want to be targeting the boss. I want to be targeting the bird. It's also more predictable to know where the bird is going around in the air phase. So if we go back a bit, what I should have done to set up here is right here, I should have casted a Rapture. I should have casted a Rapture or a Seed. I could have even cast right here. I have low duration corruption on both targets. When you're shard capped in this situation on 2 targets, you can cast a Seed if you feel like you can afford it, because 1 Seed is less time than 2 corruptions. So I have to refresh both corruptions before I go here. You see both corruptions, and then I can press my cooldowns, and then I go. And then I cast 2 Raptures, and then I stack Shadow's Embrace on the off target. So at this point, we're kind of caught up again. But I could have executed that a little bit better. And then I let my... This should have been an Agony Refresh on the boss before before that leaves, and I try to keep my Shadow's Embrace on 2 targets as well. If you play perfect on this boss fight, perfect 2-target cleave with no missed globals, it is possible to keep Shadow's Embrace on 2 targets. Now, in coming patch 9.1, Shadow's Embrace is most likely not going to be a thing. Maybe it's still, if it's still a thing, then this is still relevant, but it's going to be easier because of the extended duration. But just know that with around 25 to 30% haste, you can keep Shadow's Embrace up on 2 targets for a minor gain. Something that is very important to know, though, is that the Shadow's Embrace and everything that you do on the off target has a very low priority compared to what you do to the main target, because of the way the extra dot works with Malefic Rapture and the Focus Malignancy Conduit, which is also getting a huge nerf in 9.1. But as for right now, everything that you do to your main target is like 50% more powerful than anything you do to your off target, just because of Haunt and Unstable Fiction, Focus Malignancy Conduit, and the extra dot you have there, together with the Shadow's Embrace that is always going to be stacked on the main target. I'm lost at the Rapture? Okay. If it's too inaccessible, then I apologize. Okay, so right here, if I go in-game, I'm gonna show you guys the the pathing that we're taking in this key, because it's kind of important. Because it's important to know what's going on. I thought Shadow's Embrace and Diamond could only be applied to 1 target. They took that back. Okay, let's see here. Once we get in. Let me in! There we go. Okay, so we're open MDT here, and I'm gonna make the pathing. So I'm gonna make the pathing that we're doing in Spires. Spires, just create new. So this is the first pull. All cooldowns and Lust. Then this is the second pull. This is the third pull. And then it's this mob with Pride. Right? Then it's this. Then it's this. This. Then it's a big pull here. And then it's Pride. And then it's this. This pull right here is very, very, very important. It's Pride and Lust, and I really want my cooldowns to be back up here. So this pull is what I'm thinking about from the boss dice onwards. Let's go back to this situation again. So right here, I know that I cannot press my 3-minute cooldowns on this pull if I want them to be back up for this pull. I need to press them on this pull at the latest, even if it's late on this pull. I need to press my Dark Lair right here. So what I do after the boss dies is I press my 1 minutes here, 1 minute cooldowns here, and then I press all cooldowns here, and then I press 1 minute cooldowns here. I think maybe it would be better to press only Dark Lair here and then hold the Dark Soul for this pull, because it's the extra haste will help you a lot with the globals, but I don't think I do in this key. But that is something to think about. Normal 4-target cleave, Agony everything, Seed first, then Agony everything, then Siphon Life everything, find your priority targets, go in with Unstable Haunt PS. I don't have my Soul Rot ready here, so I'm basically just like in the maintenance mode, trying to maintain all my dots and trying to go into my Soul Rot window with high duration of Agony and everything. So do I do another Seed here? Oh, I get kind of fucked on my... Yeah, I get a little bit fucked on the Quaking there. I wanted to see there, but I couldn't. So we kill off this with 1 minute cooldowns and Dark Soul. Okay, so I use my Dark Soul here. That is actually really good, because that means that my Dark Soul is going to be back up for the pull afterwards. So I didn't remember this, because I don't think I did it on every single Spire ski, but this is very good cooldown management. Using Dark Soul there is definitely the play if you have it back up, if you're doing this pathing. Ring of Frost. Wait on the corner, normal 3-target pull, Agony everything, Siphon Life everything, and right now, I'm looking at this timer right here. I'm going to cast my PS and Soul Rot and Dark Lair when this timer comes back up, because I need to use it on this pull, even though I might not get full value. If I don't use here, then I won't have further Pride plus Lust. That's like really, really important. So you see here, there we go. The Phantom is rolling. I press the Soul Rot. I press the Dark Lair instantly. Unlucky for me, the Phantom target runs away. which is kind of not good. But I think we manage anyway. There we go. Moving on. So, now I will have my Dark Soul ready for this pull, which is really, really good. Obviously, having Dark Lair on this pull would be very good as well, but if I use Dark Lair here again, then I won't have it for the next pull. Now, come 9-1, you will be able to use Dark Lair here because, God bless, it's a 2-minute cooldown in 9-1, so that's really good. Open with Seed, just Agony everything, or Agony a lot of targets here. I'm assigned to do cardboard, so I run in and do my cardboard. I think I press my Dark Soul here. I should, yes. I find my priority targets, and I start hitting that. I put Phantom. This is something that you really want to keep an eye on. It's not always the best idea to put Phantom on whatever you have your UA and Haunt on. It's only a good idea if that target is going to stay in the pack, and it's going to get its full duration off. What often ends up happening, especially on lower keys with Affliction, is that you put your Phantom Singularity up on your priority target, and then if you extend it with Dark Lair, it becomes even more of a problem because that target will just die because you're doing so much more damage to whatever you put all of your main dots on. Your Unstable, your Haunt, your Shadow's Embrace, your Phantom. Your Raptures are doing so much more damage to that target than the targets you only have Corruption, Agony, and maybe a Siphon Life on, that it just dies, and then you lose the PS value. So you see me I put Phantom on something completely different. It doesn't really matter what. I just wanted to not be on this Praetor. For one reason, the Praetor might not be in the pack always because of it stands still while the Stealth Claws move around. And the second reason is I don't want the Praetor to die with Phantom still up, so I would lose ticks. And now I'm just nuking this guy, Shadow Fury, another Seed in here to refresh. I try to catch most of my Agonies. I actually focus on killing this guy a little bit too hard. I should have caught more Agonies here at the end of this pull. Reseed to keep the corruption rolling. Start applying Agonies. So this is one of the things that Affliction is really, really good at. Whenever you're in this kind of situation, you can kind of identify which is the higher HP mobs, because the pull is over when everything is dead, right? So you can identify targets in this pull where other classes would just do blanket cleave, the same damage to everything. You can be, I want to do more damage to this target, this target, this target, and this target, right? This target is already low, so I don't care about this target. If you guys can see where I hover my mouse, right? It's already 238k. Like the 266, 277, 262, like these three targets are the ones that I should be putting Siphon Life up on. I do put Siphon Life up here, I think. But the point is that in the situations, you can be a contributor to finishing the pull faster, even though it might not reflect that way on the overall damage meters, because you're killing whatever you're doing more damage to whatever has higher HP. I tried to say Cryptus with the gateway. It doesn't take it because no one... Warlock doesn't have utility. So when I put down my gateway, then he doesn't take it. And then he says, oh my god, I want my trees back from the boomkin, you know? So you see here, this target was higher HP. I put my main dots on it, and now it's low HP. So just equalizing. So now I'm like, okay, what is highest HP? This one is highest HP. I put a Siphon Life up on this. I put my Unstable up on this target because it's the highest HP. So I always just like constantly try to micromanage whatever has the highest HP and contribute the most. Whatever I can contribute the most to. And I also used the second. I used the second Phantom on that pull, but not a second Soul Rot, because I knew that I would get my Phantom back up for right here. I think. Yeah, exactly. Which is good. For Mythic Plus, isn't Shadow's Embrace still going to be to play because you can 2 maybe 3 target it due to the duration increase? You almost never keep Shadow's Embrace on that many targets. Like 2 targets sustained, sure. like big AoE, you don't have the globals for it. Those globals are going into extra agonies and other stuff. You on big AoE, you barely keep Shadow's Embrace on one target. So that's like maybe a 2-target niche. So this is the pull that I was talking about. I want my cooldowns to be ready, and they are, because I planned it out pretty well. On this pull, if I go back to my MDT here, it's 4 mobs. Like, you might think that this is like a 6 mob pull. It's not a 6 mob pull. These 2 mobs are irrelevant. All you care about is the 2 Goliaths and the 2 Praetors. So I don't want to do anything that isn't pre-set up on these 2. Like, I don't want to do Siphon Life. I don't want to do anything. If I'm really, really good with my micromanagement, I can use the Ether Diver that is going to drop low earlier to get a bigger Ruby. If I do that, then I'm playing good. If I don't, then it's just like, sometimes it's hard to do that without losing globals. So I open up with a Seed. I Agony everything that I want to Agony. So you see here, this is a mistake. This Agony and this Agony is a mistake on this pull. I should not have done that. That is just me not conforming to basically my own way of thinking. So this Agony and this Agony right here is useless. Those globals should have been used to put up Siphon Life on the main targets instead. I think I only put up Siphon Lives on the actual priority targets. And I get the Ruby on the Ether Diver. So that's really good. I get the Ruby on the Ether Diver. I did not put a Siphon Life up on this target yet. I don't think I will either. Also this week, or lol. Yeah, so like this Agony right here is kind of useless. This should have been like a Siphon Life on this target instead. Would have been a lot better. Then I Shadow Lock myself. That's bad. And then I can coil this guy out of the Sanguine, which is really good. We get the kick, and now it's just hit whatever is the highest HP. On this pull, you can do a lot of damage, SF, on higher keys. Even on lower keys, like, you don't need that much setup. As long as you get like one good Rapture window out, you should be good. Haunt over SC for Signatory Prio? It depends. Like, we'll see how it turns out. Okay, now we're going into a 4-target pull again. I do like a couple of Agonies first, because I did not know where we were going to group it exactly. Then I put up my Siphon Lives, Haunt Agony. This is just standard 4-target clay play. So even though the setup is quite long, like, the Raptures that you do here are actually worth quite a bit. But the mistake here is that I did my Agonies first, which means that my Rapture window is cut short because I'm seeding afterwards. This is why you seed first and then Agony afterwards. Because you see here that I still have Soul Rot, like, up on the targets, but I can't use the whole window because my Agonies are falling off. Moving on. Okay. So this is one of those moments where you kind of want to use your Dark Soul, but you don't want to use your Dark Soul as well. Because if I go to MDT again, the next pull, we just did this pull, and then we're going to do this pull, then it's Pride, and then it's this pull. So a lot of groups skip this Pride, which is, I think it's a good skip. We are playing this Pride, I'm pretty sure. But you really want your cooldowns back up for this pull to hit these 3 mobs. So this might look like a 9 mob pull. It's not a 9 mob pull. It's a 3 mob pull. You only care about these 3 mobs as Affliction. Everything else, it's just like maybe 1 or 2 Agonies as they're setting up the pull, and then everything else is just like Agony Siphon and Seed Detonation, Agony Siphon, Seed Detonation, Agony Siphon, Seed Detonation, Haunt, Unstable, Phantom, Soul Rot, Dark Lair, and you just go. It's just knowing what the priorities are. I'll answer any question about that is not related to the key afterwards. I'm only answering a question related to the key while we're doing this. So right here, I think I end up not using my Dark Soul. Oh, I do end up using my Dark Soul. Okay. So the idea is that this pull is going to take a minute, and then the Pride is going to take a minute, and then I will have my I will have my stuff back up for the pull, basically. Which I don't know if I will, but I hope that I will. You don't want to hold for too long, so I think it's a good call to use the cooldown. If you don't know, then you should use. It's better to find out that you're using your cooldowns wrong by overusing than underusing. And you can see that Dark Soul 4-target cleave, if we go back here a bit, like this is the damage at the end of the pull. Obviously, if I scroll further back, then it like the mage is like owning, right? But 4-target cleave with Destro is really good when you compare it to something like Combustion. Like Combustion really starts to take effect when you don't, like above 5 targets. That's where the gap really happens. Thank you for the 20 months, Shotis. Pogu. So right here, I am kind of like, okay, should I press my Soul Rot? I don't think I press my Soul Rot. So what's going to happen on the next pull is that my Dark Soul is going to be up, but it's not going to be up when I press my Dark Lair. It's going to be up later, unless there is like a huge delay because of the patrol. So what I end up do here, I'm pretty sure, is that I press my Phantom, but not my Soul Rot, because I need my Soul Rot to be back up earlier than I necessarily need my Dark Soul to be back up, even though I really would like my Dark Soul to be back up for this next pull. So we'll see what happens. I use my Phantom, and then I dump all my shards into this, or I should. Unlucky quicking, so I can't dump shards. I full heal myself. And then I think I will here. Yeah. Good wall, shoulda. Oh yeah. I thought that my wall would last, and then it times out here. Oh no. And then I get quicked by like 0.2 seconds. So right here, we have to wait for the patrol to come back. I should put, whenever you're in this situation in Mythic Plus, everyone that does Mythic Plus should have a focus kick macro that is like readily available. What you should do when going into pulls like this, into any pull, put something on focus that you want to kick, because it just makes everything so much easier. So here the ads come. I open up with a seed. I should have finished that seed. That would have been a good seed to finish. And you see here, Agony the Praetor, Agony the Inquisitor. I don't care about these Ether Divers. Then I siphon here. Do I siphon? Okay, I don't. I should have siphoned. Maybe I should have siphoned the Praetor as well. Are you using Relic of Demonic Synergy as well? Yes, I am. Is the buff to the talent from the Shadows big? It's pretty significant, I think. Like, it makes the single target a lot better with, but I forgot. I'm not supposed to answer questions unrelated to the key. If you have questions about the key, then go ahead. I'll answer everything else later. So I go in here, and then I'm gonna cast my Dark Soul instantly when it's available. I'm pretty sure. I should at least. If I don't do that, yeah, I do. It was a little late. I could have cast it a little bit earlier. But you see how the Ether Divers just die, and I treat it as a 3-target pull. That's very important. And then I coil this to make it walk out of Sanguine. I also use my Ruby here. The Ruby usage is a little bit awkward because it's late and I don't really have any damage rolling right now. But the reason I use it here, even though it's late, is because I want it to be a backup for the next Dark Soul. So it's not about this one, it's about the next usage. Always, whenever you use a cooldown, think about the lineup that you will have later on. That's very important for basically any cooldown class. And it helps a lot when you think that way. Right here, I'm keeping my UA on this target, but I have my Haunt and Shadow's Embrace on this target. I don't think that's necessarily a good play, but I was like thinking about swapping over to the Praetor, and then I got like caught in between the decisions, so I ended up like doing it halfway. Slash focus, no, it's just slash focus at mouse over. You would use that to focus something, and then you use slash well, for Warlock it's slash command demon at mouse over. No, at focus, sorry. So here it's 1 minute cooldowns again, and then I'm gonna have my 2 minute cooldowns back up for the I'm gonna have my 2 minute cooldowns back up for the next pull. I end up using them in order to kill the squad leader really fast so we can get into the AoE, because even though that's less damage for me, it's more damage for the group. I'm running a demonic synergy in this run. Is there a way to maximize pride damage without using PS or Soul Rot? 3 to 4k seems to be the barrier without any CDs. If you don't have PS or Soul Rot, then you don't need PS or Soul Rot, because you will, if you will die to it, then you should have had it from the start, right? Or you should have it during. You can use it at any point during the pride. But you wanna in order to maximize damage on prides, I'm just gonna pause it here. In order to maximize damage on prides, you want to hold your shards until you get a synergy proc, and then only use in synergy. But you still want to be on 0 shards as the pride hits 20%, and then you just sit and drain below 20% with dot refreshes to maximize the uptime you have on Drain Soul below 20% with the execute. You can definitely do more than 4k even without PSO Rot. But there shouldn't be a reason to hold PSO Rot on once you get into like 18, 19s at least. Maybe on lower keys maybe, but then it doesn't really matter anyway. When the damage on prides matter, then you will have PSO Rot to deal with it. Anyway, we are CCing mobs here, and then this is gonna be my next Dark Soul and Ruby, but I don't have Dark Lair here. This is why I used my Ruby here. My Ruby would not have been ready if I used it with the next Soul Rot that was on the 2 mobs prior. So that's why I used the Ruby. It's about, like, the previous Ruby was not about the previous Ruby. It was about this Ruby with the Dark Soul. When I full shards, the target's at 20% better to dump shards. Well, obviously dump shards, never cap shards, but you shouldn't have been on low shards. If it's a single target situation, then you can do that. On multi-target scenarios, you don't really care about Drain Soul at all. Is it worth spending time casting Curse of Tongues or Weakness on very strong ads like Goliath or Valk before last boss? Yes. It's something that I should do more often, but it's just Siphon Life Affliction is just such a global taxing gameplay that you find yourself starving a lot, so you don't really want to take the time. But it's more like, if you know that it's dangerous, use the global even before you do anything else. So here I'm able to put up use my Dark Soul early to put up good damage on these ads. Altarian dies because he's a noob. No, I'm kidding. And something that is important to note on squad leaders in this one, and on in Theater of Pain, like any like AoE damage reduction, your Rapture and Dots go through that. So I'm doing full damage to both targets right now. which is why sometimes tanks have a hard time keeping aggro whatever they're not hitting, because their AoE doesn't go through, but your AoE does, because Rapture is counted as a single target spell. Now here, this is a situation that's a little bit awkward, because this Pride is very, very hard, because we want Altharion to hold as many cooldowns as possible for the boss, because he's gonna tear the boss a new fucking asshole if he's able to hold. So, right here, I could have used my 3-minute cooldowns, but I choose not to, because I need to have my PS and Soul Rod ready on pull on Pride in order to have it ready early enough on the boss, so that my next 2-minute cooldowns after the boss is on the first mob afterwards. So I'll show that on MDT. So we're done with this. We're done with this. We have just killed this mob, and now we're dealing with the rest of the pack. Right here, I have my 3-minute cooldowns ready, and I have my 1-minute cooldowns ready. My 2-minute cooldowns are not ready. So what I choose to do is to hold my 1-minute and 3-minute cooldowns here in order to have it early on Pride. So we're going to have a Pride here, and then we're going to pull the boss. So early PS Soul Rot on Pride means early PS Soul Rot here. This one dies really fast. Then you have like a huge travel time, and then we're going to pull this mob. I want my Dark Soul to be ready here, because when it's ready here, then it takes about a minute to walk up and deal with this stuff, another minute to deal with the first phase of this boss, and then the Dark Soul is back up for the damage phase here. So you see how it all compounds throughout the dungeon. Knowing these timers and like being comfortable with them it takes a lot of training, and it helps to play with the same people, obviously. But even in pugs, you can kind of infer speed in a lot of these situations. So I'm not saying that holding is always a play on this pack. I'm just saying giving the reasoning for why I'm holding. And in some situations, you find yourself in situations where you hold because you think it's good, and then you look back at it, it's like, oh man, I could have used an extra set of cooldowns there. I thought I had less time. But that happens sometimes. Anyway, moving back to this. So right here, I want to do max damage on Pride. So hold cooldowns. We finish this up, and then it's Agony Haunts. I shouldn't have gone there. I should have gone in here, obviously. I got kind of cucked by Quaking there, so I couldn't set up. I wanted to cast my PS Orot earlier, but I got kind of fucked by Quaking. So it ends up actually not being that early. Yeah, this Pride was not well played by me, to be completely honest. Beard suits you really well. Thank you. I did nothing to do it. I enjoy 25% haste, but can only get 70% mastery. That's fine. What am I playing with? 77%? It's not like a huge difference. Oh, I die here. Could I have used anything? I could have. Yeah, okay. This is the one we looked at in hindsight. And we didn't use block. So he should have healed me, and the mage should have blocked. But thank you. I'm glad you enjoy it, because this is just laziness. You can tell by the fact that it's like growing here. So here I got my 2-minute cooldowns up early. So we just killed this boss, and you see on the damage meter why we want to really have our Holy Paladin cooldowns for this. Like, it's just silly. I don't even get another use of my 1 minutes. Usually you will use your 1 minutes to finish off this boss. I didn't even get that. And now we get here, and if you're supposed to be a little bit slower on that boss. And then if you are normal speed on that boss, then you see here how my 2-minute cooldowns would be ready here. So they end up being like 10 seconds off, because we're like a little bit too fast on the previous boss. But I mean, being too fast is a luxury you don't always have. But this comp that we're playing is like crazy single target with cooldowns. It just rips things apart. So 2-minute cooldowns here. We move back up. We do there we go. This is kind of an interesting. Oh yeah, one thing here is that this pack, you really want to keep them stacked. And if you play Boomkin or with a Boomkin, tell them to not trees on the pack. They can trees for damage outside if they want to, but they should never trees on the pack, because when they trees on the pack, they start hurling. And when they start hurling, they start killing you really fast. Then we get a Typhoon, which is good. A wonderful Typhoon. Best Typhooner in all the land. And then we get into the boss. Where did my music go? Can't have no music. There we go. On this boss, it depends. You can force the phase of this boss earlier by having the tank moving closer to the center of the hitbox, which will trigger the charge stomp from the boss, which consumes energy. You can use trees. Yeah, that's what I said. You can use trees, but outside the pack so they don't taunt. Exactly. That's what I did say that. Anyway, you can force a stomp on this boss by having the tank walk in to force a faster phase. But usually when you play with 1-minute cooldown classes like Mage and Warlock, you don't really want to force too early, because we want to use Combustion and Soul Rot on pull, and then we want to have it back up for the phase. So facing too early is bad. I avoid overcap. I cast my... Normally I cast Phantom into Soul Rot, but I just want to get my Soul Rot off that one global earlier. Because it's not really about this. It's not about this Soul Rot. It's about the next Soul Rot. It's a very common theme in these keys. Put Curse of Weakness up in a free global while moving, which is good. And then at this point, it's just saving shards. Make sure that you have... this boss takes double damage, I believe. So you really want to have all the damage that you have ready for the double damage phase. It's kind of crit RNG dependent if you actually do any damage or not, but that's fine. So we face here. I have my stuff ready. I press my ruby, I think. Right here, this is very minor detail, but it's something I want to point out. Right here, I can press my Dark Lair. What I should have done instead, maybe, is cast one Rapture, because if you notice, I am shard capping from here, I believe. Right here, I'm shard capping. So this, casting this Dark Lair before one Rapture is actually kind of risky, because you can technically generate a shard in this window. So what I most typically do, I think the reason I do it is because I'm not sure that I'm gonna get, if I cast Rapture here, I don't think that I would get the first Rapture into the damage window. And I should have also cast my Ruby a little bit earlier, I think. But in general, a lot of the times when you're capping shards going into a Dark Lair window or something else, you might want to cast one Rapture before you extend all your dots. Because the extension, as long as you get the extension, it doesn't really matter where it is. You don't necessarily need to cast Dark Lair before the first 1, 2, 3 Raptures even. You can cast the Dark Lair in the middle of that, as long as it still extends all your dots and your Phantom and your Soul Rot especially. So, something to keep in mind. I do end up using it here, because I think that I wouldn't get the first Rapture in. I wouldn't get the first Rapture in. The second thing that you should do whenever you're in a cooldown window like this is to not be too trigger happy. Don't be too trigger happy with using your shards straight away. you want to have a couple of things. You want to have, if you're using something like Kabbalist, you want to have high Kabbalist stacks if possible. You want to have, or if you're using the Insignia, you want to have the Intellect. You want to have Synergy. You want to have the Crit Trinket. You want to have all of these things lined up at the same time and then spend all your shards. So your timer to do all your damage, to get to basically your time, you need to be on 0 shards when Soul Rot ends. So if you see right here, I cast Soul Rot, I cast Dark Lair. Right now, I have 15 seconds until I need to be on 0 shards. I have 65% haste, which puts my global somewhere at 50% is 1 second. So this is like 0.9 second global cooldowns. And a Rapture is a global cooldown. So I have 17 globals to dump like 7 shards max. So that means that I have 10 globals that I can do other stuff as long as I'm not overcapping. So you see me here, I use 1 Rapture and then I drain. I just sit and wait. And then it's like, okay, I get my Ruby, I get my Synergy, I get my Trinket proc, I have everything I need. Now it's go time. As soon as you get all your stuff, you just send. The important thing is that when you're holding like this, you still need to be on 0 shards when this Soul Rot ends. So if you don't get the procs, you can't just sit and wait forever. And this is only really a thing in Dark Lair windows when you have the extended Phantom and the extended Soul Rot to work with. When you only have the normal Phantom Soul Rot window, it's too short to be able to hold for anything inside the window. So it's only really for the Dark Lair extensions. But it's still something to play around. This goes for raid, this goes for dungeons, it goes for a lot of scenarios. Not so much multi-targets, more like a single target thing, or like a small cleave thing. Because multi-target, you have too much shard income, so you want to be able to spend as many as possible. I think I'll put it on YouTube, yeah. Okay. The rest of this boss fight isn't too interesting. It's just like, just kill the boss. If you don't force... if you end up playing this fight for a long time, if you don't force a lot of stomps, it will actually be about 2 minutes in between the phases. So you had 1 minute until the first phase, 20 seconds of phase, and it's 2 minutes until the next phase. So if you end up playing the boss for something like 4 minutes, then you will get into the second phase if you have low damage, and then you really want to cast your next Soul Rot after the damage phase on cooldown, so the next one is back up for the damage phase. And you still want to cast it on cooldown in a situation like this, because right now we are going to pull the other side of Smallies, which means that I can use my PS and Soul Rot on that pack, and it will still be back up for when we get upstairs, because the travel time is like 37 seconds or something. From when you click this until you land, like, you can literally go pee if you don't wash your hands. Open up with the seed, I think. So I seed. Put up a few agonies just to get it rolling. I press my PS, I press my Soul Rot, but I hold my 2 minute cooldowns here because I want to press my 2 minute cooldowns on the first mini boss upstairs. How much haste mastery you recommend for these psyches? I mean, yes, just all of it. You don't want to go above 30% haste, and you don't want to go above 80% mastery, because that's when diminishing returns start kicking in. But apart from that, or I think it's like 90% mastery actually. But apart from that, you can go pretty much full monkey. I am running Rolling Agony and Focus Malignancy Conduit. Rolling Agony is very important to play Siphon Life and M+, because it allows you to do multi-target, basically. Without it, it gets super global taxing to do multi-target and get good Rapture windows out. Minimum amount of haste do you need to run Siphon Life? 0%. So I use all my cooldowns here. Let's see if I do the thing that I was talking about. So right here, I press my PS, I press my Dark Soul, I press my Soul Rot, I press my Again, you see that I'm holding. I'm using like 1 and 1 soul shard, and then I go. I went a little bit too early there, I think. I could have waited with the second Rapture until I got this proc, and I would have been fine. But the idea is still the same, that you don't necessarily want to go instantly until you get some procs in your damage window if you can afford to hold. Very helpful as always. I mean, it's true. Mastery over haste if I need to choose? No. I think generally you would rather go haste heavy than mastery heavy when it comes to M+, because of global management. So this mini-boss dies. These mini-bosses are really good to put up Curse of Weakness on, so I should do that in these runs. I do it on this one. I put it up early. Doing this setup is kind of risky. I should have maybe used one Rapture and then done a dot refresh and then got into my first window. But I end up not doing that. I get kind of fucked by the Quaking here. And since it's Quaking, the normal strategy is to kind of play as a group. But since we're triple ranged, we'll actually just die to Quaking if we stack. Kind of. So we just say FFA on this one. Does anyone in chat know how these spears work in terms of, like, when you see these spears, do you know what direction that the black stuff is going to come in? Does anyone know? Yes? Can someone explain it to me? Like, I know, but it comes out of the same direction it came from. Okay, but if you don't see the direction it came from, you just see the spear. I hate spoilers, so no. If you just see the spear, you don't see where it came from. I think it's random. It's not random. Every 90 degrees from the hilt. Yes. Okay, so if you see this circle, right? I wish I had like a tool to mark it, but I don't. I need to set that up. So if you see this circle, you notice that the spear is actually not in the middle. Like the hilt, like this is called the hilt, right? Or the pommel of the spear is above the center. So the center is here. And by that, you can infer that one of the direction is going to be through the spear. And then it's basically 90 degrees from that direction. So you got to go from the set. It's a common mistake that a lot of people do is that they know that the spear points in one direction, but they take the spear as the center point. So then it would be here. So Kraxus is actually very close to getting hit here because he's going to go right here. Yeah, but like I've made this mistake many times myself. That I see the spear and then I position myself according to the spear instead of according to the middle of the circle. So you use the spear to find the direction, but then you position yourself according to the middle of the circle, so behind the spear, so to speak. Because that's where it comes out from. If I pause it when it comes out, you will see it more clearly. Let's see here. There we go. So this is the line, going from the center of the circle, not the spear. Very good, chat. Chat is all wisdomful. So right here, I use Phantom once more. I choose to not use my next Soul Rot because my previous Soul Rot was a little bit delayed. We are actually going to wait in this scenario. We are going to wait for our cooldowns to be back. Craig, I was so scared for Kraxus because he was standing right here. He is not safe. Right here, I'm like, come back to me. Come back to me. So I use my PS, but I don't use my Soul Rot because my Soul Rot is delayed, and me and Reuben both use our 3-minute cooldowns on the first mob, and we are intentionally just gonna wait until our 3-minute cooldowns is back up to pull the last mob. So when I delayed, I did not manage to use my Soul Rot on cooldown the second time, so then I can't use it the third time because when my 3 minutes are back up, I need my Soul Rot to be back up so that we don't have to delay the third mini boss pull. It's all about the next one. It's all about the next use. Every cooldown use is about the next cooldown use. Oh my god. Happy feet on Crexus. And me. Okay, and now we're safe. And now our cooldowns are ready, and we go in. Dark Soul early is very important here. And here there's no holding because you already have the damage modifier going into it. So it's just like all cooldowns on this should just blow it to pieces. This mob is extremely dangerous. Crexus ends up dying, but we're finishing the mob and then we're just gonna rest him afterwards. Spawning Pride.
Can we also teach chat that the brute smash in Sanguini might not hurt you, but everyone standing in the smash/blue swirl will heal up the mob? Let's get chat to 100 IQ. Pog.
Pog. Thank you for the 44, Pico. Yeah, that's a good point. As long as everyone's not standing in it, it's gonna be fine. I don't even know. Does it heal more if you're inside? I actually don't know. Okay. I summon my intro pet here. That's a big mistake. So I'm unable to dispel the first one. A very good reason to play Warlock in this key is to be able to dispel the debuffs on this boss. Healer DPS is very, very important to time high keys. Like, Altarian, right now, he's doing 4.7k DPS. That's probably more than some of the pugs that you guys are playing with. He's doing 4.7k overall DPS as a healer. Now, I want him to be able to put every single global into damage. So me being able to dispel every single debuff here is very, very good. Everyone should have their macro for interrupt set up so that they can also mouse over dispel. He's also a Holy Paladin? Yeah. So I'm unable to dispel this one. So that's gonna be that's gonna be Barskin and just heal. And then I'm gonna summon my pet after this, I think. There we go. So now I can dispel. When you are playing, going into the intermission in Spires, Imp Dispel works on this. Yes, you can dispel. So basically, you don't have to deal with the damage of the debuff at all. And that is the only damage that is like consistent throughout the fight, apart from the big detonation. And the big detonation can just be passively healed up, which means that Altarian right here can put every single global that he has into damage on the boss. Because Cryptix is pretty much just self-sustained with like some passive healing from like one Holy Shock here and there. Thank you for the Prime Doggy Style. Appreciate that. Something to note about the intermission going in here is that if you play Rolling Agony, if you refresh Agony as it's flying away, that Agony, assuming that you're quick with the spear, will still be on the boss when you come down. And it's doing full damage the entire time. So it's actually very, very good. I do a mistake here and I grab like 6 debuffs, which is like horrible. I thought I could outrun the circles in Soul Shape, and then I just ended up running with them the whole time. Very, very bad. So you see here, I'm able to catch my Agony on the backside of this, which is really good. I spend my 2-minute cooldowns here, and then I think I'm gonna spend my other cooldowns after that. Again, we dispel both, and then we don't have to deal with anything. It's just passive healing to get people up. Another underused tool, I think, is when you're not stressed for globals on single targets. Affliction is not very stressed for globals. Like, you have all the globals in the world to do whatever you would want to do. Mortal Coil is basically a Hellstone with a 45-second cooldown. Like, it's very, very good to press when you have like a spare global, and it's definitely worth the global in almost every scenario. Obviously, if you're like mid cooldown, so you need to get Raptures out, then you don't want to press it. But apart from that, you definitely want to press that button. We get it to 30%. Again, just refresh dots, especially Unstable and Agony is like the most important ones, because they actually do damage. Like, Corruption and Siphon is just Rapture modifiers. Almost. They don't do any damage. And then we get to the end of the boss. And then let's just enjoy it dying. Wait. Oh no, my weaker overlay is like slightly off. Ah! Okay, that's as good as it's gonna be. Anyway, if you... I'll probably put this on YouTube. If you enjoyed it, and you see it on YouTube, hello, come check out stream, and give it a thumbs up or something. That's the key analysis. You guys voted for key analysis. Should we do some more? Does anyone have any... does anyone want some free video coaching or something? You know? Like, does anyone have some video footage they want me to go over? Or... Like, comment, and subscribe? Yeah, exactly. I was thinking go like viewer stuff would be sick. Mythic Sire? We can do it. We can go over Mythic Sire for sure.